And before we get to this, we now have information about at least one of those passengers who has died in that helicopter crash. It has been confirmed. CNN is able to tell you now that NBA star Kobe Bryant was on board that helicopter and is now dead at the age of 41. Our Christine Brennan is with us now on the phone. So, oh, there you go. All right, we're able to see you. Christine, tell us what you know and how this confirmation was made.
Fred, this is tragic and terrible news. And as people are hearing this news, now confirmed by CNN and other news organizations, it is hitting them as just one of the most unthinkable things you could have here. CNN has confirmed this news. Kobe Bryant, 41 years old, had retired just a few years ago from the NBA after a stellar career, one of the greatest ever, Hall of Fame. He played only his entire career with one team, the Lakers, and in many ways he was the Los Angeles Lakers. So when you think of Kobe Bryant, it's sports, but it's more than sports. He was a part of our culture. Olympic teams, Hollywood, the father of 4 daughters. So recently he has been seen at women's sporting events, supporting the U.S. women's soccer team, WNBA games with his girls, and all about the empowerment of young women as well. Controversy, of course, allegations of sexual assault many years ago, but he overcame that and has become such a cultural icon and such, not just about sports, but about our culture and a huge piece of Americana. And so that's why this news is absolutely tragic, stunning, and a shocker. I'm sure that as people are listening in and finding out about this, they are as shocked as I was when I heard the news. It's truly awful.
Oh, it is heartbreaking, and to see these beautiful images of he and his wife, Vanessa, and their 4 daughters. And one of his most recent projects, I mean, this NBA star, had also started this children's, book program and was branching out into, animation, cartoons, as an educational tool for kids. He was very conscientious, Christine, of the power of his celebrity and taking it beyond, his 5 NBA championship title, perimeter, but making it much more broad and affecting a lot of people.
And that is why this news, it would be devastating anyway for anyone to lose their life. But then to have it be someone who has left the sports arena and has become part of our lives in so many ways. The Academy Awards. You mentioned his work in movies, his work in animation, his work with children's books. And looking ahead at the age of 41, still very young, looking ahead to a life and a career in all of those facets of media and of working for good. This is a man who came right out of high school, right to the NBA. And has been one of those names and one of those people that has been around us for a very long time. We're in love with athletes on a first name basis, some of the biggest names, and certainly Kobe has always been one of those. And so yes, looking ahead, retired a few years ago from the NBA, but not retired from our lives, and not going away, and in fact being a part of, as I said, as you said too, the culture and entertainment, and showing up at the Academy Awards and being at places and big places, a big personality, a person who had so many more things to do. And I think if he had just been a basketball player and just been a great basketball player, that by itself would have made this news, of course, as stunning and as tragic as it is right now. But then because of the promise of what was yet to come and the fact that he would have had another 30, 40 years in the spotlight and was going to embrace those years, it's just, again, it's really, it's awful news, it's terrible, and of course it's something that I think we're all just coming to grips with right now.
Yeah, Christine, I just watched a documentary last week that involved him and helped you remember what that retirement, that moment was like for him when he walked into the Staples Center and talked about how, appreciative he was of Los Angeles and the Lakers, of allowing him to grow up, of teaching him, to be a more giving player, what it was to become a team player. I mean, remarkable that audiences, were just reminded of that yesterday. Talk to me about your memories about how we watched him grow up with this huge responsibility, of being a professional athlete and being a rising star, and how he grew and learned about the responsibility, of being a high-profile athlete.
Well, you're right. He was a kid when we first heard about him. He's coming out of high school right to the NBA, and we know how hard that is because the players have done it. LeBron James certainly has done it. Kobe did it, but it's rare, and it's rare that the arc of the story would be so successful and just so majestic. And Kobe did learn. He talked about the mistakes he made. He was a kid. He goes from high school right to the LA Lakers, and a spotlight that New York, LA, maybe Chicago, there's so few places that spotlight burns so brightly. And Kobe embraced it and went right into that. And of course there were issues. And well, it seems terrible to mention at this moment of his death that we're talking about the sexual assault allegations, the trial, that was a terrible moment, and that was not good. Obviously, I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. But within those mistakes, there was also learning. And there was also a sense from him, as we saw, as I mentioned a little bit ago with his daughters, of wanting to be a part of showing them this new world for women and opportunities for women and girls. And so as you look at the arc of his life and his career, and you look at how he's grown and became just a stalwart in our culture, in the community, and as I said, the things that could have been coming forward over the next 20, 30 years in his life. I mean, that is, the tragedy is losing him, what he has done, the history of Kobe, Hall of Fame, one of the great names in sports and one of the great performers ever in the NBA and throughout sports, but also the promise of what he could do in our culture moving forward. Even though he was retired, there was so much more yet to come for
as
Kobe.
A 41-year-old man, still a very young man who could continue to make an impact and still will, I'm sure, even posthumously. Christine, thank you so much. I also want to bring in now CNN's Brian Stelter. Brian, we're talking about, a sports hero, a multimedia star, in fact.
Yes, a transcendent basketball player, but also a global phenomenon. Someone who had a profound impact on the Lakers and on the NBA, but became a worldwide celebrity. Freddie was born in Philadelphia, started playing at age 3, and of course, became one of the NBA's greatest champions. Retired, as Christine said, in 2016. Scored 33,643 points in his career, and represented the U.S. team in the Olympics twice. Just last night, LeBron James surpassed Kobe for third on the all-time scoring list. And I want to read what LeBron said about Kobe that night. He said, "I'm just happy to be in any conversation with Kobe Bryant, one of the all-time greatest basketball players to ever play, one of the all-time greatest Lakers." LeBron went on to say, "The man has 2 jerseys hanging up at the Staples Center. It's just crazy." And Kobe, in exchange, congratulated LeBron, congratulated him on growing the game. But it is a heartbreaking loss for the NBA, for the basketball world, and for the world at large, because he was such a global phenomenon. By the way, Fred, I think people might be wondering, what's he doing in a helicopter on a Sunday morning in the hills near Malibu? Kobe was known for taking his private helicopter to and from his games. This was something that was written about. It was a part of his aura, part of his appeal. And he said he did it, not just for the Hollywood glitz and glamour. He was doing it because it was best for his body, best for his performance, because he was able to land right there near the Staples Center, head inside for the games. This was something that he did for years. He had his logo adorned on the helicopter, and it appears it was that very helicopter that crashed earlier today. And we do not know the identities of the other 4 victims in this helicopter crash. We do not yet know.
Oh, boy. And, Brian, this is just a blow. It's such a shock to so many. I mean, I think even if you didn't know him and you just watch him, from afar, just like I did, I mean, your heart just sinks. You just can't help but feel so sad, about all of this.
He
Brian,
made the game better.
Yeah,
he brought in so many new fans for the Lakers, but for the NBA as well. For many people, a generation of the Lakers was represented by Kobe Bryant. And that is why we are seeing such an outpouring of emotion, so much heartbreak right now.
All right, let me also, Brian, stick around, don't go anywhere. Christine, you're still with me too. CNN World Sport anchor Don Riddell also joining us now. So Don, talk to us specifically about international audiences. I mean, this is a young man who also grew up in part overseas. So he really was a global citizen, and he brought that experience to the NBA. He talked, prolifically about his childhood, his upbringing, and how it also prepared him, to be the figure in sports that he had become.
Yeah, absolutely, Frederica. I mean, a lot of us in this business are supposed to be able to produce words very easily. I think for a lot of people today, it's going to be very, very difficult to find the words to describe how people feel about what we now know has transpired today. I think the world of sport is in a state of considerable shock right now. You're absolutely right, Kobe Bryant, a legend of the NBA, an American sports legend and an icon, and an international sports icon too. Of course, Kobe Bryant played only for one club during his incredible career, 20 years with the LA Lakers. It was during that time that the NBA truly became a global sports brand. You're going to be seeing sports fans all over the world in shock today at news of Kobe Bryant's passing at the age of just 41 years old. We know about his achievements. I mean, his list of accomplishments and records are almost too long to list, but 5 NBA titles with the Lakers, including that famous three-peat the year 2000, 2001, 2002, when they won it in 3 consecutive years. He won 5 NBA titles. He was the Finals MVP twice. Just last night, the timing is almost quite chilling here. LeBron James, currently of the LA Lakers, actually passed Kobe Bryant's scoring record to move him to number 3 on the all-time scoring list in the NBA. And LeBron stood there in the locker room and spoke for, I think, a good 4 minutes about Kobe Bryant and what Kobe meant to LeBron and how Kobe inspired LeBron before he even knew his name. The fact that Kobe went straight from high school into the NBA, which of course LeBron did himself several years later, what they have meant to each other. It is just absolutely devastating. I'm seeing so many comments now on social media from other basketball players, other athletes, not just in America, all over the world, sports fans. And the main theme is, this just cannot be true. I think, we're used to breaking news happening and, it becoming a matter of fact fairly quickly. But I think with this one, people just, they don't want to accept it, and they are unable to accept it. I think this just is absolutely, genuinely devastating and absolutely shocking for so many people.
Right, I think it's clear we're all feeling that pit in our stomach, that feeling of disbelief that this really cannot be. Don, I wonder if you could share more on the choice, whether it was Kobe Bryant's choice or the LA Lakers' choice to be associated, to be attached to a singular team for so long, when there are so many players in the NBA that you watch, who it's still admired to bounce from one team to another. But there was something about his connection with the LA Lakers and vice versa.
Yeah, you're right. Can you imagine 20 years with one team and that's it? You don't play for anyone else. Of course, he wasn't drafted by the Lakers. He was drafted by the Hornets and was traded fairly quickly to the Lakers, where he made his name and his career, and of course made the Lakers into a global brand as well. Yeah, I mean, you're right. You don't really see this often in the NBA. You don't really see it from anybody in any professional sport. Not these days. I mean, back in the old days, that's how it used to be. Players would become a one-club man or a one-team man, but you really don't see it very often. So, I mean, that is extraordinary and noteworthy in itself. And Frederica, another thing that I think people are going to be reflecting on today is his incredible work ethic. People who played with him, played against him, got to know him personally, will tell you that they have never seen anybody with a work ethic like Kobe Bryant. The guy just didn't ever want to be beat. He just didn't ever want to be second. I actually, just before we came on air, looked up some of the great Kobe Bryant quotes, and I think they really speak to the man. The moment you give up is the moment that you let somebody else win. He said, I can't relate to lazy people. We don't speak the same language. I don't understand you, and I don't want to understand you. And one that really caught my eye, especially now given the divisive times that we live in, and we know that sports fans like to jeer and pick on players they don't like and boo. He said, haters are a good problem to have. Nobody hates the good ones. They only hate the great ones. And Kobe Bryant absolutely was one of the great ones, one of the all-time great basketball players in the NBA, one of the all-time great athletes globally of all time.
And as we reflect on one of the greatest, I mean, it's hard to see also the images that are ongoing right now, that smoldering crash site there in Calabasas, and to think as investigators still try to figure out what went wrong, how this went wrong, and now to hear the news that this site now associated with the death of 41-year-old Lakers icon, NBA champion Kobe Bryant. Just sickening and just heartbreaking. Thank you so much to all of you. We're going to take a short break for now, and we will continue with this breaking news of the NBA player Kobe Bryant dead at the age of 41 in a helicopter crash in Calabasas, California. We'll be right back.